My name is Paul Hebert. I'm on the Wicked Tuna show for 11 years. I own the boat Wicked Tuna, and I came down to Conley GMC.
Paul Hebert's journey began long before he ever became a familiar face on television. Born on February 15, 1965, in Marshfield, Massachusetts, Paul was raised in a family deeply rooted in the fishing traditions of New England. His father, Donald Hebert, was a well-known fisherman in Gloucester town that has lived and breathed fishing for generations. From an early age, Paul was surrounded by stories of the sea, but he didn't just grow up hearing about the water he was living. His father personally taught him the skills and discipline needed to survive in one of the most demanding industries in the world. At the tender age of 8, Paul caught his first bluefin tuna using only a hand line. The fish weighed over 100 pounds, and while most children would have been overwhelmed, for Paul, it marked a rite of passage. That catch wasn't just about excitement, it was a symbol that he belonged to the sea. As Paul matured, the ocean became his life. Gloucester, his hometown, served not only as a place of residence, but as a school where the waves taught lessons no classroom could. Fishing was the family business, and Paul had 6 brothers who also worked on boats in one form or another. Paul, like them, started working on various vessels up and down the East Coast, from Massachusetts to Florida. Life at sea was grueling. Often slept in sweltering engine rooms, ate whatever he could on the go, braved the dangers of hauling giant tuna in rough waters. Despite the hardship, Paul never saw fishing as just a job. It was his calling, gave him a deep sense of purpose, pride, and identity. It was the one thing that never let him down. Then, in 2012, Paul's life took a dramatic turn. He was invited to appear on National Geographic's Wicked Tuna, a reality show that spotlighted the lives of commercial tuna fishermen in Gloucester. Paul joined as a crew member on fv-tuna.com, a vessel captained by his friend Dave Carrero. However, Paul was never someone who faded into the background. With his bold personality, strong opinions, and contagious energy, it didn't take long before he made a name for himself. After the first season, Paul decided to leave Dave's crew and start captaining his own boats, eventually leading vessels like the Fed Bounty Hunter, Miss Samshka, the Kellyanne, and most notably, the Wicked Pissa. Paul's rise on Wicked Tuna wasn't just about his talent with a fishing rod, it was about his authenticity. While other reality TV stars sometimes played roles or created drama, Paul simply showed up as himself. He laughed, cried, celebrated, and argued with a raw honesty that made viewers feel like they really knew him. Fans loved his excitement. His catchphrase, "Boom," after landing a big fish, and the deep passion he poured into every outing. Many called him the emotional core of the show, the one who made Wicked Tuna feel real. But while Paul's star was rising, his personal life was unraveling behind the scenes. Unknown to many fans, he was entangled in a legal battle that stemmed from decisions made before the show had even begun. In 2009, Paul applied for Social Security and Medicaid, claiming a debilitating disability that left him unable to work, drive, or lift heavy objects. He stated that he lived alone, had no income or assets, and required government aid to survive. Based on these claims, he was granted assistance. Between 2010 and 2013, Paul received over $34,000 in Social Security benefits and about $9,000 from Medicaid. The problem was, those claims weren't true. By the time Wicked Tuna aired in 2012, Paul was working full-time as a commercial fisherman, lifting enormous tuna, enduring long hours on turbulent seas, and starring on national television. Despite this, he failed to inform the government about his income or newfound visibility, which he was legally required to do. Once people began questioning how a man on disability could haul 500-pound fish on TV, federal investigators launched an inquiry. In 2015, Paul was indicted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Vermont on 4 counts, including Social Security fraud and Medicaid fraud, convicted on all charges. He faced a possible sentence of up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fines per count. The headlines were brutal. Paul's name, once celebrated, now became the focus of scandal. At first, he pleaded not guilty. but later reached a plea deal, admitting guilt on 2 charges. In 2016, he was sentenced to 4 years of probation, a $5,000 fine, and ordered to repay over $53,000 in benefits. Thankfully, he had already repaid the full amount before sentencing, which may have helped reduce his punishment. Reactions were mixed. Some fans felt betrayed, while others offered forgiveness, saying everyone makes mistakes, and praising him for owning up and moving on. Just as Paul began trying to rebuild his life, another devastating blow came. During the COVID-19 pandemic in late 2020 or early 2021, his father, Paul Hebert, passed away in a nursing home. Due to filming commitments for Wicked Tuna, Outer Banks, and strict travel restrictions, Paul couldn't be there during his father's final moments. In a live Instagram chat, he revealed the heartbreak. "When I got the call that he was gone, I was at sea. I collapsed on the deck. I've never felt the sea so cold." His father had been more than a dad. He was Paul's hero, mentor, and the anchor in his life. After the funeral, Paul vanished from social media for over 2 months. Returned, he posted a single black and white image of himself standing alone on his boat in the fog, with the caption, "Still fishing, Dad." It was raw, poignant, and said everything he couldn't. Paul was never the same. On the show, he became noticeably quieter, less animated, and more withdrawn. The man who once lit up the screen now moved through scenes with a heavier, more reflective energy. Then, in early 2022, rumors began circulating online that Paul had died of a heart attack while fishing. The story began with an unverified blog post but quickly went viral, causing panic among fans who began posting tributes and memorials. The next day, the Wicked Tuna media team confirmed he was alive. Paul posted a short video saying, "It's crazy to open your phone and see people think you're dead. I know I've done wrong and let people down, but no one deserves to be declared dead while they're still breathing." That moment hurt him deeply. Already grieving the loss of his father and carrying the weight of past mistakes, now he was forced to face his own death in the public eye, shut down his personal accounts, and stopped engaging with fans. When he returned online, the live chats and personal stories were gone. All that remained were fishing updates and photos of tuna. The once larger-than-life captain seemed to be fading emotionally and publicly. Over the years, Paul became increasingly reclusive. While his fellow captains appeared at meet and greets, community events, and special episodes, Paul began declining invitations. Even when Wicked Tuna celebrated major milestones or honored longtime cast members, Paul was absent. Producers quietly used old clips explaining that he didn't want to share anything personal anymore. It wasn't about ego or hiding. It was about pain. Paul had never married. He had no children. His parents had both passed, and his once tightly knit group of brothers had mostly moved on. Only Bruce, one of his 6 brothers, still worked with him on the Wicked Pisa. In a rare fan post, Paul once wrote, "I have the ocean, the boat, the wind, but no one waits for me at the harbor." It was simple, but heartbreaking. It revealed a man who had lost more than he let on. Today, Paul Hebert remains a quiet yet iconic presence in Wicked Tuna. At 60 years old, he still captains. The Wicked Pisa still sails the sea and still brings in impressive catches. His estimated net worth hovers around $400,000 to $500,000, not a fortune, but enough to keep going. In a rare interview, Paul said, "I don't think of myself as a TV star anymore. I'm just a man with a boat, still sailing, still waiting for fish. That's where I still feel alive." He isn't seeking forgiveness, doesn't chase fame or applause. What he wants more than anything is the ocean, the one place that has never turned its back on him. Every morning, before the sun rises, Paul wakes up, checks the wind, readies his lines, and sets out into the waves. Out there, in the rhythm of the sea, he finds a fragile peace that nowhere else can offer. Though he's never received formal awards or widespread recognition, many fans believe Paul Hebert embodies something deeper, a story of resilience, survival, and silent strength. His life reminds us that not all heroes wear medals or chase the spotlight. Some wear raincoats, shout boom at sea, and keep going even when their hearts are breaking. And despite everything, he has faced scandal, loss, loneliness. Paul continues to do the one thing that gives him purpose. He fishes. But the man behind the wheel is no longer the same. Once a force of energy and enthusiasm, he now moves with a calm, almost mechanical grace. His fire still burns, but more like embers than a blaze. Paul avoids discussing his pain, but fans still watch closely. They see the changes in his smile, his voice, and his silence. Some think he's at peace. Others believe he's still searching for healing, for closure, or maybe just for something to feel whole again. His boat, the Wicked Tuna, is more than a vessel. It's his lifeline. A floating home where every wave keeps him grounded and every fish reminds him that he's still alive. Support continues to pour in from fans. Under nearly every post, no matter how simple, are hundreds of messages like, "Still our favorite captain," or "Keep going, Paul." He rarely responds, but it's likely he sees them. And perhaps, in those quiet moments before the boat leaves shore, they help him keep sailing. Paul's story is also a cautionary tale about fame. While reality TV gave him a platform, it also exposed him to judgment, pressure, and scrutiny. Mistake with government benefits might have started in desperation or confusion. But once the cameras were rolling, it became national news. Even though he paid the price and moved forward, the scars remain. Yet, he never quit. That's the core of Paul's legacy. He didn't walk away. He didn't hide. He sailed on. At 60, Paul Hebert is no longer the boisterous captain fans met. In Season 1, he is something more profound, a man who has weathered storms, legal, emotional, and spiritual, and keeps going. As long as the sea welcomes him, Paul Hebert will keep fishing, not just for tuna but for peace.